Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day. Today we're talking about mental health again, and more specifically, we're talking about mental illnesses. And this is based on a course from Everfi, the mental wellness course. So if you'd like more information in addition to this video, then check out the course info in the description. But that's what we're talking about today, so let's get started. So first of all, what is mental illness? Well, it's really not that much different from physical illness like colds and flus and things like that we're all very familiar with. On a very basic level, illness is whenever your body isn't functioning properly. So with physical illness, this is whenever your respiratory system, your lungs, your nervous system, whenever those aren't functioning properly, that causes a physical illness. With mental illness, rather than your respiratory system or your muscles or things like that are not functioning properly, instead it would be your brain that isn't functioning properly. The brain is a part of your body, just as much as your arms and your legs and other parts of your body, and that's where your thoughts and your emotions are housed. So you can see how your thoughts and emotions can actually have a big impact on your overall health. So mental illness and physical illnesses definitely have a lot in common conceptually, but there are a couple major differences between the two. One major difference is that mental illnesses can often be harder to see. The symptoms might not be as visible. So things like loneliness or hopelessness or negative thought patterns, those might not be as apparent as someone who's coughing or they're feeling sick. So because of that, actually that's a big reason why sometimes mental illnesses can go unnoticed or untreated. Second major difference between mental illnesses and physical illnesses is in how the world views them. So there really is no shame in getting treated for a physical illness. If you're sick, you should go to the doctor, and people don't feel any sort of way about that. Usually that's encouraged by pretty much everybody involved. But with a mental illness, sometimes people are hesitant because they're worried about what people might think, or they think that mental illness is a sign of weakness or lack of mental strength, when really that isn't true. Mental illness has nothing to do with your mental ability or mental strength. Rather, it's just an interaction between your biology and your environment. So in order to help us understand mental illness and mental health a little bit better, let's go into those two major factors of biology and environment. So talking about environment, with both physical illnesses and mental illnesses, your environment and your surroundings, like kind of everything that's around you, that can have a big effect and can maybe make you more at risk for certain conditions. So for example, somebody who is in an environment with a lot of cigarette smoke or pollution is going to be at risk for a respiratory condition or problems with their lungs. The same thing or the same concept is true with mental illnesses, in that someone who is exposed to a lot of trauma or they have a lack of emotional support, they're going to be more likely to develop a mental illness because of the stressors of their environment. When we talk about biology, that is what's going on within ourselves. So like the science of what's going on in your body. So environment is like things outside of you. Biology is what's going on within your body scientifically. So with biology, it's important to remember that we have certain structures in our body that are responsible for certain functions. So for example, your lungs are responsible for breathing. So if there's any problems biologically with your lungs, then it's going to cause problems with your breathing. So same thing with other parts of your body. If a part of the body is impacted or it's not functioning correctly, then whatever the function of that part of the body is, so for lungs we said it was breathing, that's also going to be impacted. So the brain actually has multiple structures within it that are responsible for different functions. So like decision making, memory, managing emotions, managing stress. So there are specific structures in the brain that kind of deal with those different areas. The brain does work as a whole, but there are certain structures that are kind of specializing in certain tasks. So you can see that if something is kind of off with the biology of those structures for whatever particular reason, then that can cause issues and maybe a mental illness. So the takeaway here is that we shouldn't really view physical illness and mental illness as like these two completely different things, because they do interact with each other and they do have a lot in common. We did note a couple differences between mental illness and physical illness before, but they really do have a lot in common, and you should use that to affirm yourself that, hey, mental illness is just as important, also needs to be treated. It's also a medical condition that we shouldn't take lightly and that we should take seriously and devote some time and effort into.